Today I will be showing you how to make a simple battery out of tin and iron. Voltaic cells, or also called galvanic cells, use spontaneous single replacement redox chemical reactions to generate electric energy. Galvanic cells each have two solid, unionized metal electrodes that take part in the reaction. First, to build our battery, we look at an activity series to determine that since iron is higher up on the list, it will be the anode, or the oxidized element, and tin will be the cathode, which is the reduced element. Each electrode is placed in a salty solution called an electrolyte. Our electrolytes in this example will be tin chloride and iron 2 sulfate. Connecting these two half cells by being immersed in each solution on either side is a salt bridge. We'll be using potassium nitrate for our salt bridge because it will balance out the charges on either side of the cell without reacting with anything. If we were to, for example, use potassium chloride, it could react with the iron sulfate. The last thing to do in creating our galvanic cell is attaching a voltage meter. In normally operating voltage meter, the black wire is attached to the anode and the red attached to the cathode. If the wires are switched, a negative voltage will be displayed. However, something in the internal structure of my voltage meter was a little faulty, and the wires had to be switched for it to work correctly. After connecting the wires, the battery will be completed and its voltage will be displayed. The electricity within any battery is created by a flow of electrons. The electrons flow from the anode to the cathode, or in this case, the iron to the tin ions. This is because of the previously mentioned single replacement redox reaction that takes place. Solid iron 2 and aqueous tin chloride are the reactants and cause the tin to go from a positively charged ion to a neutrally charged solid, and the iron to change from a neutrally charged solid to a positively charged ion. Iron, the reducing agent, has an oxidation number of 2, while the oxidizing agent, the tin ions, have a reduction number of 2. The half-cell equations, which is one oxidation and one reduction equation, can be written like this. And the net ionic equation will look like this. This makes sense because in the chemical equation for the redox reaction, the chlorine was the spectator ion, leaving the tin and iron to change their charges. The cell potential of this battery, estimated from a list of standard potential voltages for different metals, is approximately 0.3 volts. Certain conditions, if not done correctly, can affect how the battery works. Placing the metal electrodes in the wrong electrolyte solution will cause the battery not to work at all. If you decrease the concentration of the tin solution, then the battery's voltage will decrease and it will die quicker because there are less ions to accept these electrons for the flow of electricity. Changing the concentration of the iron solution wouldn't have as much of an effect because the iron metal is the important component involved in the redox reaction, not the ions. The battery will not last forever though. Over time, as the tin ions are reduced to just tin, the cathode will begin to get a coating of the reduced tin called electroplating. If the tin ions in the solution all become used up by the electroplating, the battery will no longer work. The iron will do the opposite because as the iron loses its electrons over time, it begins to corrode. If the anode decomposes so much that it no longer touches the solution, then the battery will no longer work either. The corrosion of the anode is actually a problem faced by many people who own boats today. Any two metals submerged in seawater can easily and unintentionally create a battery, making metals underwater easily destroyed by galvanic corrosion. Parts of a boat's structure, such as the propeller, are prone to being corroded. To avoid needing to constantly replace the propellers, boaters use a sacrificial anode, which is a third metal that is more likely to give its electrons up than the propeller. This sacrificial anode, usually zinc, is corroded so that the actual anode is not.